Today I want to talk about Guild Wars 2, specifically the few things I would change to improve player experience. So welcome to my channel, much love to my Patreons, and let's jump into it. So if you are new here, I've been playing Guild Wars 2 since beta, and the Guild Wars franchise since 2005. So you could say that I have a personal vested interest in the success of the game, and perhaps I'm a bit of a neckbeard about it, but anyway, let's head on in. Guild Wars 2 has a solid storyline which has, I am happy to say, improved in its delivery and depth with each passing expansion. The narrative leads you through the world and its lore handily, with each race having a unique starting experience, with some choice elements in vanilla which add flavour without affecting the ultimate conclusion of the first major narrative arc of the game. The expansions are better delivered, more cinematic, with each evolution of the narrative being bookended by smaller living world seasons, for at the moment that bridge the tales, weaving them together into one coherent chronicle of Tyria. Now, the newest living world content is the Ice Brood Saga, which is trying to reinvent and expand the living world into something much grander than a lead-in short story. Now, for me, the story is my jam, and I have spent hundreds of hours playing through it on multiple characters, sometimes for achievements, which there are a multitude of, but mostly for the simple pleasure of losing myself in the story and the setting. So, how could this experience be improved? Well, let's start at the beginning, the personal story, the first encounter new players have with Tyria, which, could use a little bit of polishing, I'm gonna say, especially the side-by-side talkie-talkie screen, which really should be replaced by the new in-game cutscenes. Not the grand, arty, beautiful cinematics, although that would be wondrous, but the simpler set pieces utilizing the in-game character models with some tweaks to the rigging to add more expressiveness to them. I would also love to see the personal story become replayable, allowing characters to explore all the story options available, as well as reliving their vanilla days. This is such a vital experience for new players, and I think dedicating time to refining the story delivery could aid in new player retention in those first crucial hours of gameplay. I would also increase the experience gained from completing the personal story, so it's possible to reach max level without needing to do a great deal of side questing. All the best bits of the game really kick in at max level, so getting there the first time should be a jubilant journey. Gone, but not forgotten. There is, of course, the ever-present red elephant in the room. Yes, Season 1 of The Living World, Scarlet's War. The community has been calling out for a replayable version of the first season for years and years and years, quite some time, and they're doing it because it was a stunning, expansive, and exciting roller coaster ride that changed the face of Tyria forever, and, I would argue more importantly, introduced our main hero companions. Not being able to play this vital story step leaves players disconnected from the story and finds them wandering into the Heart of Thorns, not understanding who the main characters really are, let alone really caring about them. We need to see firsthand the broken relationship between Air and Bram to appreciate the full tragedy of their story. We need to see Jury and Cass's beautifully bittersweet love story to understand what they mean to one another and engage with them emotionally. We need to see Taimi building her relationship with Bram so we understand their connection to one another. We need to experience all their stories and our part in them so we as players care and are invested in the story, in the characters, and in the world. It is so important. As to the expansion, the story is good, the delivery is great, and although there are a few tweaks and changes I would make, my amendments could fairly be categorized in the pedantry column of stuff, so I'll just leave those minor tweaks, shall we say, to my reviews. However, I would say that overall, for the new content, Heart of Thorns Forward, the only request I have is more rewarding loot, which leads me into my next area of improvement. The loot system, isn't that fortuitous? So I know not everyone will be on board for this bit, but I'm not a fan of the massive amounts of mostly useless gear that drop in the game. Yes, there have been tweaks to alleviate the problem, but I feel like rewards in the game are lackluster, and I'm going to be honest, Bag Wars is a tedious minigame, guys. How would I improve it? Well, I would have tiered materials, tier 1 to 5, drop directly from mobs, no salvaging required, and tie different materials to different areas in the world and specific mobs. I would have regions be abundant in specific mats, giving players a reason to head out into the old world as well as the new. I would make green armor drop rates plummet, be vanishingly rare once you're at max level, and I would boost once you're at max level gold gains and the number of exotics that drop. Storage, so I would make all bank material stacks hold at least 1,000, and I would give all players 5 bank tabs from the start of the game. I have double that amount and I still struggle. And we also need a library tab, a bookshelf to hold all the books, the letters and the notes that drop and we gather throughout the world and the story. Now I want to marry loot and gameplay together a bit better. So we have at the moment 13 world bosses scattered about Tyria's core maps, as well as the new guy, Drakkar, in Jorah's marches. And they definitely all need some loot love, in my humble opinion. So to make the content more attractive, I would give each world boss a dedicated Black Lion weapon set, mount skins, and backpack. These items would still be available on the gem store, but giving players a gaming method of acquisition outside of gold farming will build goodwill with the community to no end, and hopefully increase the replayability of these bosses. Now, the skins could be a drop chance, they could be linked to the number of times that you have killed that boss, or achievements, or a combination of elements that you think of, or they think of, or any of the above. How do you match boss to weapon? Well, for example, the branded weapon skins and could be linked to the Shatterer, along with the branded backpack and the branded mount skins. The Shadow set could be linked to the Shadow Behemoth, the Inquest Mark II set linked to the Inquest Mark II Golem, and so on. Honestly, I think this simple change would make this older content much more attractive to new and veteran players alike, as well as sending a message to the community who see the gem store as a walled-off, whaled sanctuary at this point. Having both gem store purchase options and gameplay unlock seems the most customer-friendly approach, at least to me. Honestly, I would say that with the wealth of Black Lion skins, you could easily expand the distribution of these beauties throughout various game modes and types. Spread the love, share the shinies, and hopefully reap the love of a grateful player base. On to another area of the game that I love, Fashion Wars. Now, one of the strengths of this game is its stunning visuals, and characters have been given a lion's share in that department. Avatars are rendered to perfection, having a diverse creation process, allowing players to express themselves and craft their in-game personas however they like. To match these wonderful models, the gear the art team creates is again diverse, detailed, and crafted with love, if a bit clippy on char. They would really like you to look at that. And the wardrobe system is heaven sent, and the ability to dye each individual piece of gear is wondrous. Thank you, thank you. It is a pleasure to use, to play. We love it. How would I improve it? Well, it's probably fairly obvious what I'm going to say right now. I would retire transmutation charges to the annals of history and replace them with a simple in-game currency cost. Take away the paywall and the grind of this purely fun aspect of the game. Free players to trip the light fantastic and just enjoy tweaking and changing to their heart's content without the contrived scarcity, which has, in my opinion, no place in this area of the game. I would also have additional character modifications as rewards for example, story completion and achievement, giving players unique hairstyles, exclusive dyes, face customization, and to that end, I would remove makeover kits and total makeover kits from the game, banish them, and have this again as an in-game action with a currency cost. There's just too much pressure in the game in its current monetization system, and it's killing player goodwill and turning people away from the game, and that is a crying shame because this is a wonderful game. Now, I want to talk about raids, and my thoughts in this area are likely to be received as, well, warmly as a fart in an elevator, but hey, what the hell, in for a penny and all that. So, as it stands, there is a tiny raiding community in the game, which in terms of development means that one entire development team is working on content for less than 5% of the game's population. This is not an effective use of resources, to say the least. Now, the team have broadened their focus of late with strike missions and the new world boss Drakar, which is great, awesome. However, that still means that the lion's share of raiding content is out of reach for most of the community. This is something I would remedy, taking the World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy route of tiered encounters. What these games do is have different levels of difficulty, from tourist mode with limited boss mechanics to the standard focus raid encounters, all the way to the hair on fire mythic battle that only 1% of the 1% can best. This would open up hitherto inaccessible content to less experienced and less skilled players, whilst allowing focus skills to still enjoy their elite status, and would add additional challenges for them if the devs enacted that mythic raiding mode, which has had much success in other titles. You need only look at the mythic world first races of World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy to see the excitement this tiered approach can generate. Now, please note, rewards should always match effort, and raid tiers should always reflect that. The best loot goes to the bravest and boldest, and everyone else gets, I don't know, a hat. Do feel free to fillet me in the comments below. It's been fairly chilly in the UK of late, and I could, do with a bloody good roasting. A note to PvP. Now, I am in no way qualified to make in-depth comments in this area. PvP hurts my brain because, I end up smashing my brains out on my keyboard. Although, I think a few general points could be made. If any game wants to foster a vibrant esports scene community, it needs to have a real league with real rewards, aka money, honey. And meaningful support for player-created sub-leagues and tournaments. Yep. Now, I know Roy and T-Board have a great deal to say on this topic. They are vastly knowledgeable in this area, and I recommend that you check out their Twitch and YouTube channels for a deep dive into that. This is where I am shoving off. Now, the last, question I want to pose today is, do we need an expansion? Now, for sure, this has been asked for by the community, and the argument they are putting forward is that a new expansion would spike interest in the game again, bring in new blood, and tempt back lapsed players who have headed off to pastures new for a time. And if you look at the expansion figures, for both in relation to revenue and player population for Guild Wars 2, for World of Warcraft, for Final Fantasy XIV, expansions increase these metrics no end. Well, not no end, but significantly. The thrill of a new expansion is something truly special, and I would welcome one with open arms, and I agree with all the above. I think it would help a great deal. But do I think an expansion is likely? Well, that's another question entirely. And with the game's revenue down to their lowest on record in the last quarter of 2019, the Guild Wars 2 top brass need to do something to right the ship. An expansion could very well reignite and expand the player base if the bean counters will allow such a venture in the face of falling earnings. All I know is I love this wonderful game, its community and a kawaii spirit, and I want to be enjoying it for a long time to come. So honestly, I hope that they roll the dice and take a chance on another great expansion for this beautiful world. So we come to the end. That's my hope and change soapbox bombast about Guild Wars 2 done. Let me know what you would like to see changed or tweaked or yeeted in the comments below. And whilst you're down there, please do like this video if indeed you did like it. Share it if the spirit moves you. Subscribe and ring that bell if you think I've earned it. And please do show some love to Cody, Kildare, Molini, Jolly Josa, Jason Venter, Dark Griever, and all my wondrous, fantabulous Patreons, without whom I would be unable to dedicate the time and resources I do to my content creation. I can never thank you all enough. If you too would like to support my channel, there are links below to my Patreon page. Now I hope you will come back and join me again very soon for more Guild Wars 2 goodness and Dreams goodness and all sorts of goodness coming up on the channel. But until then, as always, thank you so much for watching.